Okay, so welcome everyone to this evening session. I'll just do a quick meditation, I think, to start with, and then we'll go into some reading of the text. So just making yourself comfortable. Sitting feet shoulder width apart. Back straight, cup your hands in your lap. Close your eyes, and as usual, start off with a nice, deep, full inhale breath through the nose. So breathing in, noticing how the stomach rises and the chest rises. And the subtle flow of air in through the nostrils, clenching the sphincter muscle. Feel this nice, comforting, warm wave of energy rising up the spine into your heart center. Put one hand on your heart, connecting with your heart space. Bringing your attention into the present moment. Draw the energy up to the crown of your head. Just pausing at the top of the inhale. And just check in and scan your mind. So noticing any thoughts, any emotions, any sensations going on. It's been a difficult day for some of us, so bring that all to mind. Whatever's going on, just notice thoughts, notice emotions, notice body sensations. Notice any feelings of upset, and just apply today's first lesson for review to whatever you're experiencing. Say to yourself, I'm upset because I see what is not there. Just breathe into that, so you're creating some space, some awareness around the upset, and you find it starts to dissipate. The thoughts, the emotions, maybe they're still there, but they just diminish a little bit. They'll probably diminish even more as you listen to Jesus' commentary on this lesson. So breathe in again, so top yourself up there, hold the breath as you listen to these words. Reality is never frightening, says Jesus. It is impossible that it could upset me. Reality brings only perfect peace. When I'm upset, it is always because I've replaced reality with illusions I made up. Illusions are upsetting because I've given them reality, and thus regard reality as an illusion. Nothing in God's creation, and love's creation, is affected in any way by this confusion of mine. I'm always upset by nothing. And so you exhale, blowing it all out. The breeze of your breath, letting go of that upset. Thoughts, the feelings, emotions, the energy, just leaving your body like a dark smoke, expelling it all from the lower stomach into the spine. Expel the last remaining air out. Just rest here in the peace and the stillness for a few moments, the peace of God's creation or love's extension. It's another way of translating that. Extending into and through your mind right now. Bringing you peace no matter what's happened today. So just breathe in that peace. Imagine breathing peace into every pore, every cell, every muscle of your body, every fiber of your being. It's infused with the peace of God. Clench the sphincter muscle, feel this warm wave of energy rising up the spine into your heart center. Breathe in again, into the upper chest, into the head. So again, look at your thoughts. Remind yourself that I see only the past, so my reactions to everything are based on my past. As I look about, condemn the world I look upon. I call this seeing, call this perception. I hold the past against everyone and everything, making them my enemies. Notice anyone who comes to mind when this phrase comes into your mind. Breathe in again. Notice the thoughts and the emotions that might arise as you think of them. And then say, when I have forgiven myself, in other words, when I have let go of all these negative thoughts and emotions, which are really my own belief, and remembered who I am, I will bless everyone and everything I see. There will be no past and therefore no enemies. And I will look with love on all that I failed to see before. And then exhale. Have a sense of releasing again, blowing away the dark clouds of the past. These just cloud your vision. They obscure the present moment, which is the blue sky of your pure formless awareness. Lies beyond the clouds of the past and the fantasies of the future. So have a sense of just resting there in this clear blue sky of your true awareness for a few moments. And then breathe in again. Maximal inhale breath. Clench the sphincter muscle, lock the energy in. Inflate the stomach like a balloon. If it helps you can imagine you breathing the light in. Golden or white light. If you don't visualize very well, just have a sense of lightness. Spacious awareness, that's really what light is. Coming into every pore, every cell of your body, every part of your mind, every fiber of your being. In the light. Again, scan your mind, notice any thoughts going on, and apply today's third lesson to them. My mind is preoccupied with past thoughts. So if you observe honestly, you'll notice that these thoughts are all related to the past in some way. In reference to the past, your past experience, your past learning, conditioning, and then you interpret things in the present from a past basis. And that's why it is the same. My mind is preoccupied with past thoughts. Breathe in again to top yourself up, create some space, some awareness. This present moment awareness is the antidote to the past. And repeat after me in your own mind as I read these words. I see or perceive only my own thoughts. And my mind is preoccupied with the past. What then can I see as it is? I'm only seeing what's in my mind. My mind's preoccupied with the past. I'm not really seeing anything presently. So let me remember that I look on the past to prevent the present from dawning on my mind. In the present moment lies your salvation. It's a little portal to eternity. So breathe in again, this presence of the present moment. Say to yourself, let me understand that I'm trying to use time against God, against love, against pure formless awareness. Let me instead learn to give the past away, realizing that in so doing, I'm giving up nothing. So exhale. And just blowing it all away with the breeze of your breath to the nothingness it really is. Exhaling it all out. The lower stomach into the spine. Expel the last remaining air out. And you rest here, again in the peace of pure formless awareness. Beyond the clouds of the past, feel that beautiful blue sky opening up for you. You're just sinking in there. Letting your mind go into this awareness above the battleground. Maybe there's still a few clouds scudding around in lower reaches of your mind, but you're above them now. You can just observe them casually from this invulnerable place, unshakable in the blue sky of your true awareness, the light of your source shining through it. You can afford just to laugh at them. These ridiculous clouds that you once believed in so much. Maybe there's still a few of them there, but your belief in them is very diminished. You see them as temporary, ephemeral. They just come and they go, they shift and they change. Nothing of substance about them, there's no reality there. So you just let them arise. They blow briefly across your mind and then you let them pass away. You just let them arise and pass away and arise and pass away. And the more you do that, the more you realize there's no substance to them. Nothing you can really hang on to. They are ephemeral and fleeting by nature. Remind yourself that as you breathe in again, nice full maximal inhale, clench the sphincter muscle, feel the energy rising up the spine into your heart center. Put one hand in your heart, connect with your heart space to bring you into the present moment. Another sip of air, feel this warm wave of energy rising up into the upper chest, the upper back, into the head. Go and scan your mind. Where the thoughts are there. Remind yourself that I see nothing as it is now. Repeat these words after me. I see nothing as it is now. If I see nothing as it is now, it can truly be said that I see nothing. I perceive nothing as it is now. It can truly be said that I perceive nothing. I can see or perceive only what is now. How can you see what's not there? The past is over. So the choice is not whether to see the past or the present. The choice is merely whether to see or not. Whether to perceive truly or not. What I've chosen to see has cost me vision, which is the vision of the present moment. Pure formless awareness that shines through that moment. But now I would choose again that I may see, that I may perceive truly. Exhale. Just blowing it all out, blowing it away with the breeze of your breath. The nothingness that it really is. The stomach into the spine. Expel the last remaining air out. Just rest here for a few moments in the exquisite stillness of the present moment, sinking into it. These little gaps between breaths, or the gaps to eternity, portals to eternity. So just go into them, extend them, appreciate them. Don't just let them slip by, these little gaps in mind when you're not thinking consciously are enormously valuable. So, one more deep inhale breath. In the nose, notice again the stomach rising and the chest rising. Like inflating like a light-filled balloon. Clench the sphincter muscle, lock the energy in. Draw energy up the spine. To your heart center, putting one hand on your heart. Connect with your heart space. And draw it all the way up into the crown of your head. Again, scan your mind, noticing any thoughts going on there. Whatever the thoughts are, just say to yourself that my thoughts do not mean anything. It's very unambiguous. I'm not saying sometimes they mean something, some of them mean something. My thoughts, all the thoughts that you're aware of, which he calls your private thoughts, do not mean anything. They are meaningless. And Jesus says, and follow after me, repeat to yourself as I read, I have no private thoughts. Private thoughts is a thought that you hold on your own, when you think you hold it on your own. Often these are egoic thoughts. They are egoic thoughts because they separate you from others. We want to hide them because we don't want other people to see that we're really thinking this. I have no private thoughts, yet it is only private thoughts of which I am aware. So the entire world has become dominated by these private thoughts. What can these thoughts mean? They do not exist. And so they mean nothing. If my mind is part of creation or extension and part of its creator or source. So breathe that in. Imagine you infusing every cell, every muscle of your body, every pore, every part of your mind, infused with the light of your source. And ask yourself, would I not rather join the thinking of the universe? Talking here about the universe beyond form, the universe of God, which is not the same as the material universe. Would I rather join the thinking of the universe than to obscure all that is really mine, my pitiful and meaningless private thoughts. And then exhale, just letting these thoughts go. Any desire to have private thoughts, desire to keep things to yourself, not to tell others, hide things away in your mind. Any desire to do that, just notice it. Let it all go. Just sigh it all out. And release into this far greater awareness. Pure blue sky of your true awareness, your pure, formless awareness. Nowhere else to go, nothing else to do, nothing else to think about. Just sink inwards, deeper and deeper with each breath. Into the stillness that lies beyond perception, lies beyond these thoughts. As useful as these thoughts are, these mind training lessons, they are just pointers to nowhere else to go, nothing else to do, nothing else to think about. Just breathe, relax, and be still. Sink inwards, deeply into the kingdom, the state of pure formless awareness, where all is peaceful and calm and quiet, and there's just this one pure, formless, shared awareness. Surrender into it, sink into it. Nothing else to do, nowhere else to go, nothing else to think about. Just pure formless awareness, arising in your present experience, undoing all these crazy ideas, all these false thoughts and beliefs, really enslave your mind into the past, future channel. Sink inwards for a few minutes, just resting in the peace. When thoughts arise, notice them casually and release them. Just rest in the silence for a few minutes. Give everything over and just trust that this awareness is there and it's taking care of everything. Next few minutes of deep silence. Any thoughts arise to disturb this deep peace, and just observe them casually. They're just like cloud patterns, drifting by. They have no power at all to affect the pure formless awareness of your blue sky of your pure formless awareness. It's all the same, really. So you let them go. Blow them away with the breeze of your breath. And you sink inwards. To the peace that beckons you, that calls you into its soft embrace. Just surrender your mind to it. Fought long and hard to avoid this terrible peace in the ego's eyes. But just surrender to it now. Just give in. So you're just flopping back into a beanbag after a really hard day, and just same way surrender into this. Let it accept you, cushion you, envelop you. Another few minutes of deep silence. And so gently coming back into an awareness of the body, the breath, and the senses, and the world. And on the count of 3, you're going to open your eyes. So 1, just breathing in, noticing how the stomach rises and the chest rises. Subtle flow of air in through the nostrils. Pausing at the top of the inhale. Once more, just scan your mind. It's just spacious awareness there, pure formless awareness. Just appreciate it. Nothing more is necessary. Just gratitude for this. Any thoughts, just apply this intent to them. My thoughts do not mean anything. These private thoughts of which I'm aware mean nothing. They do not exist, and so they mean nothing. So you exhale and just let them go, release. And with the breeze of your breath, remind yourself that your mind is part of creation, part of extension of love, and part of its creator or source. This is your home, this is your reality, not these pitiful and meaningless private thoughts. Simply obscure the pure formless awareness that you are. So on the count of 2, you're going to notice the weight of your body pressing down into the chair and your feet touching the ground. Noticing what you feeling with your hands touching. And there's a subtle taste in your mouth, a smell in your nose. Notice these subtleties that you don't normally notice. So you're bringing your mind back into an awareness of senses, but in a very present way, a very non-judgmental way. So your perception is clear and clean, holy perception, true perception. Not all distorted and discombobulated, just what the ego creates. Notice also what you're hearing. Any sounds, allow them to arise and pass away. Everything just arises and passes away. Have a sense of that. Even as you continue on in form, awareness of form. And so, on the count of 3, you're going to open your eyes. Just take a minute to look around, ground yourself back into this seeming reality. Notice the various objects around you and just apply these lessons to whatever you see. So remind yourself that I'm only ever upset because I see what is not there. Applies as much to what you see inward as well as what you see with your body's eyes, what you perceive with your senses. So I'm upset because I perceive what is not there. I perceive only the past, because my mind is preoccupied with past thoughts. And so I really see or perceive nothing as it is now. Therefore my thoughts do not mean anything. See the logical consistency of these thoughts. The one follows from the other. You can link them with things like therefores and start to see that it's part of a cohesive thought system that is unified and makes so much sense. So that brings us to the end of the meditation. So let's go into some reading, shall we? So unmute Iona. We've basically covered the lesson. We did that this afternoon as well, so I'm not gonna. Well, let me just ask. I'll ask Iona and Lucy if they've got any comments or questions. So, any comments or questions on the lesson today?
Yeah, I'm very glad I gave some time immediately when I woke up to the lessons, because I had the strangest feeling about today. Oh, are you there? Oh.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And I think the biggest lesson is I have no private thoughts. These shameful, pitiful little things that I think that I might just keep to myself. Don't help me, don't help anybody. I think that's really a major lesson for me. I was glad to give time first thing in the morning, because I had the strangest feeling that the day was somehow going to be extraordinary.
And it was.
It was truly extraordinary. It was quite shocking in many ways. And I did feel a bit unstable for a little while. So the lessons today were incredibly helpful.
Good.
Yeah. So good. Yeah. Thank you.
That's what they're there for.
That's absolutely. It's amazing.
Just to comment on that private thoughts, David Hoffmeister's Living Miracles community, in their monasteries, I think they call them, when they live in community, it's one of their two foundational principles on which they base the whole community.
Oh, really? What?
No private thoughts, and no people pleasing. Those are the two. Those are the two that they base the whole community living on. Because when you have private thoughts, it creates all kinds of problems, doesn't it? This is when you get little cliques developing and little, well, two of us against one of you, and all this kind of stuff that develops so often in groups. But private thoughts just does away with that, because I can't. If I recognize all my thoughts are really not private, then I just need to be open. There's no private thoughts. So if I'm thinking it, then I'm entitled to speak it. So people can be very candid and honest, but that's better than all the hiding and covering up and ducking and diving that goes along with most human communities.
That's true. So if I had a private thought that somebody looked absolutely hideous in that dress, is that sort of comment needed?
Well, I can't answer that absolutely. It just depends on the context.
Yes, but if I had a private thought, my God, why are you wearing that? You look absolutely washed out, or whatever my critical thought is.
Yeah.
And there are no private thoughts. I would censor myself by saying that's not helpful, it's not kind, I'm not saying that.
Yeah, I guess you got to ask: is it truly helpful? I mean, if it would help the person,
Yeah.
I mean, maybe, but that's situation dependent. It would depend. Like, let's say the person is going to a like a major speech, and he or she comes and says, how do I look? And you say, oh, no, fantastic, amazing. And then they go there, and everyone's like, what? Then that's not really being helpful for them, isn't it? Like, it would be helpful if you gave them an honest opinion and said, well, but then ask them and say, do you really want to know what I think? Or you're just asking me because you want your ego stroked? You really want to know? No, I really want to know. Okay, well then, be honest.
Of
But
course.
so it's all. I mean, there's no like one size fits all with this. You can't say.
No. Okay.
And there is discernment with it. This doesn't mean that you go and share your most intimate private thoughts on Facebook necessarily. Oh, there are no private thoughts. Okay, well, let me just let all my dirty laundry hang out in the Facebook forum or something. That's not really discerning, is it?
No, it's 1,000 of my closest friends, exactly.
No, but that's not really what he means.
No, I understand.
He means, like, look at your thoughts, and if you notice that it's a private thought, that you actually you want to hide that thought, then that's a private thought.
Yeah.
It's not open, it's not honest, it's not loving. We hide the ego's thoughts because we're not actually proud of it. So if you're thinking something, you go, oh, I don't want the person to know. That's a private thought. Then, just let it go. Say, okay, this is pitiful and meaningless. It doesn't mean anything. It's just my ego playing its games.
Yeah.
What you do, it doesn't mean you need to share it. In fact, you just let it go. It's just this awareness of not harboring, not holding on to these thoughts. They come, you notice them, you go, oh, well, that's not very nice. That's private thought. Okay, let me let it go. I'm just open myself up to pure formless awareness. Okay, so any further questions on the lesson?
We're just having a bit of an upset here, Jono, because I found the meditation far too long. And it's an hour since we logged on. And I thought we were trying to keep the sessions down to an hour and a half or 2 hours maximum. We came online. I mean, I'm speaking for myself, who's got a different view. But we came online at lunchtime. We did the lesson. We did a meditation on it. We talked about it. And here we are going through the lesson again. I find it very, very difficult to stay awake during the meditations. They really don't do anything for me for when they go on at that length and in that detail. I really don't enjoy them. I don't get anything out of them. I feel as though, this is not helpful.
Okay. Well, thanks for sharing that.
Sue's got a different view. I think you want to say.
Yeah, but in the spirit of no private thoughts, you shared it. So thank you.
Yeah. Well, you say that. Say that. Say you want to talk about private thoughts. That's what you want to do.
No, I said I'm upset about.
I'm upset because I think the meditation went. I thought we were going to do a reasonably short meditation, and it wasn't. And I thought we were trying to contain the sessions to an hour and a half or 2 hours. And
well, we may well do that, John. If we do another hour, we've got the text isn't that long. We've got 8 paragraphs, so
yeah,
you can probably get through it in an hour. if we
And,
move on.
If we're gonna show up at lunchtime, don't want to go through it all again in the evening. You know,
Okay.
I mean, if I'm not there at lunchtime, I don't expect you to go over what's happened at lunchtime if I'm not there.
Yeah, fair
Show up
enough.
in the evening, start with the text. I don't expect to go back through the lesson.
Okay, so some expectation there. We're not going through the whole thing. I just said, to Iona, did anything stand out for you? And she mentioned the private thoughts, which, yeah, I mean, it is actually it is a major point. So I thought it was helpful to spend a bit of time on that. But
I was quite surprised that we went back to the lesson, because I remember in your text today that we would just in your message to us all that we would cover only the text tonight. So
okay. Well, I can stick to that strictly. I just thought, given you didn't do the afternoon session,
but
might have had 2 thoughts on the text.
But that was my call not to come on the lunchtime session, and I knew I just made a judgment about how my day was going to pan out, and I knew that I would necessarily not speak with you about the lesson tonight because you'd done it at lunchtime. So yeah.
So yeah, John, in future, I mean, I just won't ask anyone about the lesson. I just sort of thought I'd ask Iona because she'd missed out and maybe she had wanted to comment.
Oh, thanks.
I didn't intend to go over the whole thing. That was not my intention.
No, thanks, because I get tired in the evening as well, and I lose focus, and I'd rather have a tighter, shorter session, and then I would, if I miss out at lunchtime, that's my decision. But thank you anyway.
Okay, so shall we?
Yes,
without further ado, go into the text.
Yep, I'll get my glasses.
Confusion of pain and joy, which is a really good one, actually, from memory. Haven't read it today yet, but I have a feeling it might be very pertinent. So, John, would you like to start with paragraph 1?
Yeah. The confusion of pain. Is it pain and joy?
Yeah, the confusion of pain and joy. Yeah.
Okay, good. The kingdom, the state, is the result of premises. Premises, I think he means by that assumptions.
Well, yeah. Premise is a fundamental assumption, fundamental building block on which logic from which things follow.
Just as this world is. You may have carried the ego's reasoning to its logical conclusion, which is total confusion about everything. If you really saw this result, you could not want it. The only reason you could possibly want any part of it is because you do not see the whole of it. You are willing to look at the ego's premises, but not at their logical outcome. Is it not possible that you have done the same thing with the premises of God, love, pure formless awareness? Your creations are the logical outcome of his premises. His thinking, its thinking, love's thinking has established them for you. They are exactly where they belong. They belong in your mind as part of your identification with his. But your state of mind and your recognition of what is in it depend on what you believe about your mind. Whatever these beliefs may be, they are the premises that will determine what you accept into your mind.
Okay.
So I think what he's saying here is that our state of being reflects the assumptions and the values and the thought system that we put into what we think our world is. Compared to our creations being the outcome of his premises. So it's kind of encouraging us to be of right mind and serve our function as an extension of his will, because they actually belong in our mind.
Yeah, that's a pretty good summary. Anything else stand out for you?
Well, I think it's just reinforcing the fact that, you know, the outcomes will be the result of the premises, the assumptions that we work from, that we apply.
He's asking us to look at the logical outcomes of the premises of God.
Instead of the ego.
So your creations or extensions are the logical outcome of his premises. And the premise, you know, there's only two premises. The one is oneness, and the other one is separation. Those are the two foundations. So if you believe in oneness, then the outcomes must reflect that. Peace is an outcome of oneness. State of peace, of love, of joy, no conflict, no consequences of separation exist in oneness. And so the outcomes belong in your mind as part of your identification with pure formless awareness. It really is just saying that the outcomes like peace and love and joy and bliss are as much a part of your identity as oneness.
Yeah.
Okay? And he says your state of mind, your recognition of what is in it depend on what you believe about your mind. So will you recognize the premises? Will you recognize the outcomes? Or whatever these beliefs may be, they are the premises that will determine what you accept into your mind. Okay, so beliefs are premises, and then based on beliefs, we determine what we accept. The beliefs are the filters, which we then use to filter reality and accept or reject whatever ideas seem to be in accord with what we believe.
Yeah. So it's up to us. Yeah, it's up to
So he's
us.
asking us to look at not just at the premise of oneness, but also at the outcomes of oneness, and choose the premises based on the outcomes.
Look at the outcomes.
Right?
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Any questions on that?
That's
Okay.
good.
Happy to move on.
Yeah.
Okay, number 2. Sue, do you want to read that for us?
It is surely clear if you can both accept into your mind what is not there and deny what is. Yet the function God, pure formless awareness itself, gave your mind through his, you may deny, but you cannot prevent. It is the logical outcome of what you are. The ability to see a logical outcome depends on the willingness to see it. But its truth has nothing to do with your willingness. Truth is the will of pure formless awareness. Share its will and you share what it knows. Deny its will as yours and you are denying its state of oneness and yours.
Yeah, well translated then. Okay, so that's quite a short one. You want to start at the top? Sentence 1 makes sense.
I don't
Understand the first sentence?
really feel as though I'm understanding this text so far.
Okay. It's surely clear you can both accept into your mind what is not there and deny what is. So that's the ego's whole belief system. Accept into your mind what is not there, false idea. Deny what is there,
Right, yeah, okay.
oneness.
Yeah.
Okay, happy with that?
Yep.
Number 2.
Okay, you can deny your holy function, but you can't stop it.
No. You cannot prevent. It's the
With all-
logical outcome of what you are.
Yeah.
So what is that function, do you think?
To be happy.
Yeah. And to extend love.
Right.
And the two are really the same. When you extend love, then you're happy. So you can deny that function, but you cannot prevent it. It will always be there as a call in your mind. But when you deny it, then you create all kinds of unhappiness for yourself.
Yeah.
Logical outcome of what you are. I quite like that. Happiness is the logical outcome of what I am. That's a very good thing to remember. Happiness is the logical outcome of what I am. Right? It's inevitable if I just accept what I am. And there's number 4, ability to see a logical outcome depends on the willingness to see it. Okay, so we must be willing to see it. If we don't want to see it, then we won't see the logic of it. But its truth has nothing to do with your willingness.
Yeah.
It's true, irrespective of whether you're willing to see it or not. Okay?
Yeah.
Right? Truth is God's will. Truth is His love's will. Truth is, God's will. What does that mean? Well, it's really just this pure formless awareness as itself. God's will is only that awareness. That's what God's will means. But you are only aware of that awareness. So share that awareness and you share what it knows. Deny that awareness as yours and you're denying its state and yours. Does that make sense? You translate will of God, will as awareness. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So you give us a 30-second summary of that paragraph, then we'll move on. What's the key point he's making there?
We have our function. And we can deny it. We can be unwilling to see it. The ego can, put up all its barriers to us seeing it and understanding it, but it's still there.
Yeah. It's the logical outcome of what you are, which I love. That's such a beautiful, beautiful little short statement, isn't it?
Love is a logical outcome.
Okay, anything else about that paragraph? Shall we move on?
I think that's,
Everyone happy?
Yep. Good.
Everyone happy? Okay. So number 3, Iona or Lucy?
The awareness of oneness will direct you only so as to avoid pain. Surely no one would object to this goal if you recognized it. The problem is not what the awareness of oneness says is true, but whether you want to listen to what it says. You no more recognize what is painful than you know what is joyful, and are in fact very apt to confuse the two. The awareness of oneness' main function is to teach you to tell them apart. What is joyful to you is painful to the ego. And as long as you are in doubt about what you are, you will be confused about joy and pain. This confusion is the cause of the whole idea of sacrifice. Obey the awareness of oneness and you will be giving up the ego. But you will be sacrificing nothing. On the contrary, you will be gaining everything. If you believe this, there would be no conflict. So, if I have the trust in the awareness of oneness and I listen to the only correct source, then I'm going to avoid pain.
Yeah.
It's not an argument about what awareness of oneness says is true or not. It's whether I want to hear it.
Yeah.
Because I don't know what, if I'm relying on myself, I don't know what is pain and what is joy.
Yeah.
Listen to awareness of oneness and I learn to tell them apart. I recognize that pain belongs solely to the ego. And listening to that painful source means that I am in sacrifice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Obey the awareness of oneness. I'll be giving up the ego and gaining everything. And any conflict in my mind would die away.
Wow. Very good summary.
I'm not understanding number 4 actually.
Well,
You no more recognize what is painful than you know what is joyful. Because, I mean, when we're in pain, okay, maybe we don't recognize we're in pain, but maybe we don't recognize why we're in pain, but we recognize we're in pain.
well, he's saying we don't actually know the difference.
Yeah.
Think about what we do so often. Human beings choose pain.
Yeah.
So
And then mix up the joy
if you
with
choose pain, then you must be confused. Why would you choose it? Because on some level, you see, the ego loves it. The ego is going, "Oh, this is good. We're going to juice this. This is great. You're going to go down the rabbit hole. You're going to get really emotionally and turbulated, and this is satisfying for the ego. This is the ego's joy.
Right.
It likes it, and these deep dark emotions. It enjoys. It relishes. Likes them.
Yeah.
If we identify with the ego, then we're going to be very confused. We're going to think that those deep dark emotions are some kind of joy, and we're going to seek them out.
Yeah.
It's like being addicted to adrenaline. It's like being so into having experience. Isn't it one of the Chinese proverbs? Isn't it like it's a curse to have an exciting life, something like that?
Oh wow.
And this sort of Wu Wei and the Chinese element system, it's like, do not overexcite your system. And yet the addiction to the drama and to
Mm.
whether it's joy, ecstasy, you know, it's like it has to be a thing. It has to be a
Has to be intense. I think that's really the key, isn't it?
intensity. Yeah.
And so if it's an intense negative feeling, the
Yeah.
ego actually thinks that's nice, that's good.
It can almost,
Well, yeah, but I think it's a bit more nuanced than that.
Mhm.
Because we might be sucked into something by the ego, but there's still an awareness within us that knows that it's not, that knows that it's painful. It might
Well,
be it might be momentarily it might satisfy some sort of perverted desire. I mean, I'm thinking of depression rather than excitement. Yeah, there might be some sort of perverted reason to go into depression, but there is also a knowledge that we don't want to be there.
Well, that knowledge comes from the Holy Spirit. So you're saying the main function is to teach you to tell them apart. But if you totally dissociate the Holy Spirit or the awareness of oneness, then that knowledge is going to be denied. And this is why people get stuck in pain for years and years.
yeah.
Because they've denied it so totally. So the ego's convinced them that, you know, this state is desirable. But yeah, depression is something they want, or whatever the state is, and you know, continue on. In fact, go deeper into it.
I remember this feeling of myself. There's almost a kind of perverse, I'm on purpose here. I'm really experiencing a life here. You know, this is what life's about. It's about going deep into feelings. And I've done that so much. And for me, that's what that sentence means. I would no sooner know my way out or be able to name what was pain and what was joy than, it was impossible for me for a while. There was
You get confused.
Yeah, joyful perversion about it all, thinking, well, I'm really going through it. Yeah, I must be really doing it right.
Like being a martyr.
Being a martyr. Oh, burning martyr.
And so the more intense the suffering, the more I'm getting it right in the ego's twisted viewpoint.
Yeah.
No, you've got to feel your feelings, experience them, Iona. You know, like go into it. And the ego is very cunning. It'll tell you all kinds of stories to justify it. And you need a very clear-cut teaching, which is what this is, to say, well, look, you know, you need to tell these apart. Joy is not pain. Right? They are very different emotions. And learning to tell them apart is its main function.
Yeah.
That's quite a major teaching right there.
Yes, that's it. That's the sentence.
That's all you need to learn. To tell them apart, because if you can tell them apart, then you can make a clear-cut decision, can't you? Oh, okay, well, that's pain and that's joy. Well, if I can really see them for what they are, then why would I want to choose pain? It's just not going to happen.
That's pain.
You'd have to be insane to know it's pain and then go into it. But the ego confuses you. It's like, you know, you're not sure. You think actually that's joy. So it's a clarity that he's training our minds to attain and just be able to see very clearly. And then decision making becomes obvious.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so obviously painful. You know, I'd have to be insane to want to go down that path. So, you know, let it go. And by contrast, the joy feels so wonderful, so peaceful, so bliss, you know, amazing. You're like, well, why wouldn't I just choose that all the time? So
well, I think when people go down that path of negativity, that they've been possessed so strongly that they don't see where they're going.
No, they're confused, as he's saying. You don't know the difference between pain and joy. Someone who's deeply depressed, for instance, on some level thinks that deep depression is desirable, is joyful.
Well,
The
you
more
get
depressed they are,
True.
you get negative attention from or positive attention. So it can be really attention seeking to seek pain. And attention is something that we're quite often lacking. We don't know how to give it to ourselves.
but then the ego convinces them, oh, well, this is the way you get what you need and what you want.
Yeah.
So that's good. So that gives you some joy. So carry on, you know, keep milking the depression for you know, the little scraps of, you know, what the attention that it gives you. But none of that is joy. You know, joy is it's an amazing feeling. It's way beyond anything the ego can conjure up.
Wow.
So he's trying to train us to just be able to determine the difference. Because otherwise, how can we make accurate decisions if we're confused about something so fundamental? Okay. Happy with number 3. I think Iona did a really good summary, so it's all good. We can move on.
That is why you need to demonstrate the obvious to yourself. It is not obvious to you. You believe that doing the opposite of pure formless awareness as well can be better for you. You also believe it is possible to do the opposite of the will of pure formless awareness. Therefore, you believe that an impossible choice is upon you, and one which is both fearful and desirable. Yet, the will of pure formless awareness, it does not wish. Your will is as powerful as its, because it is its. The ego's wishes do not mean anything, because the ego wishes for the impossible. You can wish for the impossible, but you can only, but you can will only with pure formless awareness. This is the ego's weakness and your strength.
Okay. That's a little summary of that. I think Iona's way was quite good. So if you just kind of paraphrase it, start with sentence 1 and paraphrase it in your own words. That's quite a good summary. Way to summarize it.
I probably can't do that, so I'll just do my own thing.
Okay.
So, you believe that your ego's will is what is best for you, so you choose that.
Right.
But what you don't realize, it's the opposite of pure formless awareness as well, which is which wants you to be joyful and to follow a more blissful path. So what you feel is that you're not able to take on the will of pure formless awareness, that it's not possible for you to do God's will. Therefore, it's a lot easier to just follow the ego's path, because the idea of God's will is just insurmountable. Like, really, that's God's will? I mean, that's what I read into that.
Right.
So then there's an interesting bit here. Therefore, you believe that an impossible choice is upon you. It is open
Open to you.
and one which is both fearful and desirable.
Well, that's the split mind, isn't it?
Yeah.
I fear it and I desire it. I mean, that's insane, but that's what we do.
Yeah, those two wills, those two together, fearful and desirable, is quite an interesting elixir, quite an interesting concoction of emotion there, isn't it?
Yeah, if you remember David Hawkins's, I'll bring it up quickly. At the level of 100 was fear, and then at level 125 was desire. So they're actually very intertwined. They're just one level apart. Although they seem to be opposite, they're not really. Let's just open. Where are we? Documents, downloads. So on this scale, have a look at where they are. 100 fear, 125 desire, which is based on much testing. So
Yeah.
they're actually so close.
Yeah.
You think about how your mind works. I desire something. The more I desire it, I have an expectation. The more I fear that I won't get it.
Yeah.
That's how it works. So they two sides of the same coin.
It's kind of like out of reach somehow.
No.
And
Stronger
so,
the desire, the stronger the fear.
so it's saying you can wish for the impossible, but you can will only with pure formless awareness. So you feel like it's out of your control. If you're going with the ego mind is saying, well, you can never have that actually. So you're here to suffer because that's not for you. And so then it feels like an absolutely impossible trip, because God's will is for God, not for these little lowly humans, which is what we've been taught. And so the ego's weakness is that it believes in itself. It believes in the impossibility of that sense of oneness with everything, with life. So it's like the ego just pushes it out of view. It just pushes it away, and it's always there, and it's like it's always available, but the ego is kind of creating a wall.
Constantly denies it.
Yeah.
So this entire world, was a product of an impossible wish. You can wish for the impossible. Well, that's exactly what we did when we there we go. Second one. When we decided to do this crazy thing of wishing that we could be separate from our source, wishing for another identity. This was an impossible wish, which then creates an impossible world. And we continue to wish for the impossible. We continue to wish that all of this is true. If you desire anything in this world, you're wishing that separation is true, that you have your own identity. This is why desire and fear must be undone entirely, or not at all. Because one little desire, one fear makes the whole thought system real.
Yeah.
Sure.
The will of God is really just the awareness of itself, the awareness of pure formless awareness. I'm going to translate it into our translated language. The will of God is the awareness of that awareness, which only wants to be aware of itself. The will of God is to be aware of itself, as only itself. That's what it is. And God doesn't want you to do anything on the level of form as such. Just that awareness just calls you to become one with it, to acknowledge it, to be one with it. That's all. That's the will of God. Okay. You happy with number 4?
Yep.
Moving swiftly on to number 5.
The Holy Spirit always sides with you and with your strength. As long as you avoid his guidance in any way, you want to be weak.
You want to do the translation as you go, John?
Oh, you want to be weak. Oh my God.
the Holy Spirit, the awareness of oneness, always sides with you and with your strength. As long as you avoid its guidance, you want to be weak. Yet weakness is frightening. What else then can this decision mean except that you want to be fearful? The Holy Spirit, the awareness of oneness, never asks for sacrifice, but the ego always does.
Yeah.
When you are confused about this distinction in motivation, it can only be due to projection. Projection is a confusion in motivation. And given this confusion, trust becomes impossible. No one gladly obeys a guide he does not trust. But this does not mean that the guide is untrustworthy. In this case, it always means that the follower is. However, this too is merely a matter of his own belief. Believing that he can betray, he believes that everything can betray him. Yet this is only because he has elected to follow false guidance. Unable to follow this guidance without fear, he associates fear with guidance and refuses to follow any guidance at all. If the result of this decision is confusion, this is hardly surprising. Hardly surprising at all. Yeah.
Yeah, got to have a chuckle.
Yeah. So I think what he's saying here is that the Holy Spirit always sides with our strength. Okay. So the Holy Spirit, the awareness of oneness, is always going to come in our direction of flow. But as long as we decide against that direction, we put ourselves into a state of weakness, which is automatically weakening for us.
And we actually want that weakness, even though it's frightening. So, we desire what's frightening to us.
Yeah.
Doesn't make any sense.
It's not a weakness.
So again, confusion of fear and desire. We actually desire to be fearful. And it doesn't make any sense when you say it that way, but that is the ego's system.
And why is that then? Because the ego wants to, because the ego is in fear of being undermined?
Yeah, well, fear strengthens the ego. So the ego's desire is to strengthen itself, and fear strengthens the ego, even though it doesn't feel pleasant. But then the ego convinces you that this is somehow a good feeling. To be intensely fearful is somehow joyful. Makes no sense at all, but just what he's showing. I think the beauty of this deconstruction that he's doing is it just really shows you the complete insanity of the ego. Like, really lays it out for you. It says, look, let's look at this crazy idea in your mind and look at what it does, look at what it's capable of. And then choose, do you really want this? We only choose the ego because we're confused. We don't actually know what we want. You understand number 7?
Yeah, because then he brings in projection. Projection is a confusion in motivation. Projection is a confusion in motivation. I think I understand why projection would bring about a confusion in motivation.
It's a confusion in motivation. It arises from that confusion, you see. So let's go back to our diagram. So why do we project? We project because we want to get rid of something that we don't want. Okay, so the confusion and motivation is we want to keep the underlying problem, which is separation, the idea of a separate identity and the guilt and the sin, but we don't want to accept it in our own minds. So we project it onto someone else. Say it's your fault. So that's a confusion and motivation. Our motivation is to try and get rid of it. But actually we're strengthening it.
Yeah.
Massive confusion and motivation. If we really wanted to get rid of it, then we'd let it go. It's the only way to get rid of it. So the motivation of projection is to keep the problem, but try and get rid of its consequences. You see that?
Oh, say that again.
To keep the problem of separation, right? Because you don't want to give up your special identity, but to try and get rid of its consequences. This is what the ego is trying to do. So I'll now project my guilt onto someone else. The guilt is then theirs, it's not mine. I've offloaded the guilt, so I'm temporarily free of it, although not really. You've actually just strengthened it. And then I get to keep my separate identity. So this is what the ego is trying to do with the projection of guilt, which is the primary source of its projection. That's where attack comes from. But this is a confusion and motivation. Right? You're not really getting rid of the problem. You're just trying to get rid of its consequences. If you really wanted to get rid of the problem, then you go to the source of the problem, the root of the problem, and you let it go there. Because that's the only place that's going to work. So can you see that fundamental confusion and motivation that leads to projection? So that's what he means. Trust becomes impossible once you do this, because you don't trust yourself. If you keep doing this, projecting, trying to get rid of, saying you want to get rid of something, but actually you don't. You're being self-deceptive. There's no trust there. How can you trust yourself or anyone? And of course, your projections afterwards, they mean you don't trust anyone else, because the world becomes a very fearful, attacking place.
Oh,
Okay?
Something I'm not getting here.
Okay, yeah.
Projection is a confusion. I mean, I understand that projection is an attempt to get rid of guilt.
Mm-hmm.
I get that.
But can you see it's a confusion and motivation? Right? Because on the one hand, you're trying to keep the source of the guilt. On the other, you're trying to get rid of the guilt and get rid of the consequences. It's a fundamental confusion there.
So you're trying to get. Hang on, I'm getting.
Trying to get rid of the consequences of the guilt of separation, okay, without actually getting rid of the problem, which is separation. So I don't want the guilt, but I want to keep my separate identity, my special identity. So I try and get rid of the guilt by attacking. Okay. But I'm confused because I'm trying to get rid of the guilt.
I'm trying to do one thing, but I'm doing the other. Yeah.
The real cause of the guilt, the real problem, I don't want to get rid of. So on the one hand, I'm saying I want to get rid of it. On the other, I'm saying I don't want to get rid of it.
Yeah.
I mean, is that not confusion and motivation deluxe?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
And of course, it's going to create internal stress and conflict.
Yeah.
Because you're not really being honest. What do you really want? No, I want to get rid of guilt. Okay, well, I'll project my guilt as blame onto someone else and attack them. But then you're really saying, I don't actually want to get rid of it. I want to keep it. Because you do. The more you give guilt, the more you confirm a separate identity, the more you keep the source of the guilt going. So you say you want to get rid of it, but you don't really. So you're completely confused in your motivation.
Yeah.
Okay, that one clear?
Yeah.
Okay, anything else on that? In the second half, no one gladly obeys a guide he doesn't trust. It's kind of fairly obvious. If you don't trust a guide, you're not going to follow it. And this does not mean the guide is untrustworthy. In this case, it's the followers. Okay, so you're not being honest. So you won't follow the Holy Spirit, which is totally honest, because you want to play games. You want to be deceptive.
Yeah.
So then it's the follower that's the problem, not the Holy Spirit.
Yeah.
This too is merely a matter of his own belief. Believing that he can betray, believes that everything can betray him. Isn't that just so true?
Yeah.
If you believe you can betray, then you're going to fear betrayal. The way it goes. And actually, you betrayed yourself. Believing that he can betray, well, what did you do? You betrayed yourself. You believed in an illusion of yourself instead.
Oh, yeah.
Then you must believe that everything can betray you. So then the world becomes a fearful place, which is exactly what the ego has created. I betrayed myself. I'm not being honest with myself, so I project my guilt outwards. Now I fear that I'll constantly I'll be betrayed. Because that's what I've done to myself.
That's what I've made myself guilty.
Okay? Happy with that?
Yeah.
Well, that's a good one.
Yeah.
This was only because he elected to follow false guidance, so he chose to follow the ego instead of the Holy Spirit. Unable to follow this guidance without fear, he associates fear with guidance.
Yeah.
He refuses to follow any guidance at all. If the result of this decision is confusion, this is hardly surprising. You got to laugh. It's quite funny, actually. Talk about getting yourself twisted into knots. So you can't follow the false guidance without fear. So then you associate fear with guidance. And then you're totally paralyzed. You don't want to follow any guidance at all because it's fearful. So then you just do nothing. And you sit in your fear. The result of this decision is confusion. This is hardly surprising. I think it's why people get, you might know some people who get stuck and they're just paralyzed. They can't move. One way or another. Okay, well, if I do nothing, I'll be safe. But, we need guidance because life's continuously presenting us with challenges and tests. So, if you don't have a guidance system, you can't just stay safe by not deciding. So it's not a very happy state to be in. Refuses to follow any guidance at all.
Yeah.
Makes sense? Kind of resonate with it from your own experience?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh.
Okay. Happy with that? I think we've done quite an in-depth summary. Move on to number 6. Sue.
The Holy Spirit, the awareness of oneness, is perfectly trustworthy as you are. God, pure formless awareness itself, trusts you. Therefore, your trustworthiness is beyond question. It will always remain beyond question, however much you may question it. I said before that you are the will of God, is the awareness of pure formless awareness.
That's a good translation. Well remembered.
His will is not an idle wish, and your identification with his will is not optional, since it is what you are.
Okay, so you want to translate that? The will is awareness, with a capital A.
Yeah, so the awareness, pure awareness, is not an idle wish, and your identification with this awareness is not optional, since it is what you are.
Well,
Sharing this awareness with me is not really open to choice, though it may seem to be. The whole separation lies in this error. The only way out of the error is to decide that you do not have to decide anything. Everything has been given you by God's decision. That is his awareness, and you cannot undo it.
well, does saying it instead of will of God, awareness of pure formless awareness, does that kind of make sense? Does it clarify it?
It does in some instances, but not in all of them.
Okay, so what are you not sure about still?
Oh, well, the last one, that is, everything has been given you by God's decision. Okay, that is his awareness. I think will fits better than awareness in that instance, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, he's talking about a decision there, but in truth, God doesn't decide. Pure formless awareness doesn't decide anything; it just is.
Yeah.
Right? So that is its awareness, and you cannot undo it. You cannot undo pure formless awareness. Not possible. So it's the danger of saying the will of God is then people sort of go, okay, well, what is the will of God? They try and find some kind of form in that. Okay, so God wills that I do this, and they take it into doing.
Yeah.
Whereas just saying that this will is that awareness, then it avoids any of that confusion.
Yeah.
That is its awareness, and you cannot undo it. So the awareness that is pure formless awareness is beyond your power to undo, fortunately. Because if we really could undo it, then it would be gone. There would be no way back to it. But we cannot undo it, no matter how hard we might try. And we have tried very hard. We have tried very, very hard to undo that awareness. And the result of that, all that striving and stressing, is the world that we see. This enormous striving to undo pure formless awareness. And it's all pointless. It's all futile. There was never a point in it. You can't undo it. So why would you even attempt to undo what you cannot undo? That's surely a delusional attempt. But everything has been given you by God's decision. So if you translate that, does that make sense? How would you translate God's decision then?
Everything has been given you.
Vision?
So
No, let's try again.
everything has been given you.
I would say by the existence of pure formless awareness. Right? God doesn't really decide. I mean, he's using words here, and we understand. But everything has been given you by the existence, by the fundamental existence of pure formless awareness.
Yeah.
Right? That cannot be undone. It simply is. God is. That awareness is. That is its awareness, and you cannot undo it.
Mhm.
You can deny it all you like, and you can strive mightily to try and deny it, which we have done, but it's impossible to undo. So it will always be there in your mind, waiting for you to become aware of it.
Yeah.
And that's all this is about. This entire spiritual path is just, will you become aware of that awareness that is your own awareness? Will you accept it as your only awareness? Or not? If you don't accept it, it's still there, but it's only potential. There's no actual awareness of it in your mind, so you've denied it. So for you, it's then not there. That awareness has disappeared. Which is why God doesn't seem to be present. We go, well, where's God? We don't see him, feel, touch. You know, we seem to be living in a world where there's no God. But that was exactly what we designed. By denying that awareness, we shut that awareness out of our awareness, and we created another awareness.
Yeah.
Miscreated another awareness, which then gave us the awareness of this world, which we call perception.
Yeah.
So we took pure formless awareness and we dumbed that down into perception. And we said, now this is awareness. Perception is awareness. That's what the ego wants you to believe. But it's not. It's not foundational awareness at all.
Mm.
Does that
Foundational.
paragraph make some sense?
Yeah. Good, thank you.
Okay. So I'm going to ask you the dreaded question. Can you explain it back to me?
Well, well, we can deny the awareness of formless awareness, but it is always within us. It is what we are. So so we can't undo it.
Yeah.
Oh, so pretty good summary. And it's not really open to choice.
Yeah.
We think we have a choice, but actually there's no choice in being the awareness that you are.
Yeah.
You are what you are. You are as God created you, as he says repeatedly in the lessons. It's the most repeated. No, it's not the most repeated lesson. Because there's 5 at the end, but he repeats it 2 or 3 times in the workbook. No, you are as God created you.
Mm.
I am as that awareness created me, as that awareness I am as that awareness is me. I am that I am. What can you say? Not even like I was created. It just is. That awareness is my awareness. And this is the whole journey. This is all we need to accept.
Mhm.
And only that awareness. See, this is the exclusivity of it. Not any other awareness. Only that awareness. Be vigilant for God only and his kingdom.
Vigilant for God.
So only be vigilant only for that awareness, because it's the only awareness that's true. And let go of any other awareness, which we call consciousness and perception, with various names for it. Let go of all that, because it's not true. It's not your true awareness. Okay? Happy with number 6?
Yep.
All right. Number 7 and 8.
Even the relinquishment of your false decision-making prerogative, which the ego guards so jealously, is not accomplished by your wish. It was accomplished for you by the awareness of love that has not left you comfortless. The voice of love will teach you how to distinguish between pain and joy and will lead you out of the confusion you have made. There is no confusion in the mind of the extension of love, whose will must be the awareness of the source, because the awareness of source is its extension.
Oh, well translated. Get in the hang of it.
Ah.
It's a bit of mental gymnastics as you do it, but it's good.
Yeah, it's fun. This first sentence, even if I give up my supposed right, prerogative, it's a funny word, to make a false decision, or a decision that's against my highest good, which the ego guards so jealously, is not accomplished by my wish. And it said in paragraph 4, God does not wish, he wills, and my will is as powerful as its, because I am pure formless awareness. The ego wishes for the impossible. So, yeah, not accomplished by your wish. It was accomplished for me by the awareness of love, who has not left me bereft. I can trust that this voice helps me distinguish between pain and joy and leads me out of my confusion. There's no confusion because my will is God's will, as I am the rightful extension, the true extension of the awareness of source. I don't think I've nailed the first sentence about the ego guarding so jealously is not accomplished by my wish. Is that my sort of feeble egoic wish?
No, even if you wish to do this, you go, okay, well, I have a decision now. I can make, I can choose to relinquish this idea that I can make decisions. As you said there, you don't have to decide anything.
Yeah, you need do nothing.
You need do nothing, because in pure formless awareness, there's nothing to decide. There's only oneness.
Yeah, of course.
This false decision-making prerogative is the ego guards it jealously because it splits your mind. As long as you've got decision, you've got choice, you've got two alternatives. Decision implies duality, doesn't it?
So if I'm saying instead, no, I relinquish this ridiculous egoic game, and I hand it all to pure formless awareness, who will
It's not really your wish that does that.
No, it's
accomplished for you by the will of God, or the awareness of pure formless awareness. So it's coming from that awareness in your mind. That wish is not your wish. It's the will of God, as he puts it. It's the awareness of that awareness coming into your awareness.
Yeah.
And saying, remember, this is all you are. And actually, none of your decisions have made any difference to us. It still is.
Remember who you are.
I think it's all summarized in number 3. His voice will teach you how to distinguish between pain and joy, will lead you out of the confusion you have made. Yeah, we have confusion around, we have this ability via the ego to attract pain and even to become addicted to it. And we get lost in that, and we get confused by it, and we project in an effort to try and get rid of pain. But his voice will teach us how to distinguish between the two and will lead us out of the confusion.
Confusion of pain and joy.
Does that make sense? There's no confusion in the mind of an extension of pure formless awareness. How can there be? You are that awareness.
Yeah.
Whose awareness must be the awareness of the source. Because the source awareness is its extensions awareness. It's all one awareness.
It's an amazing chapter, this, because I find that the language is quite confusing, but I think that's deliberate, because there is such a confusion between pain and joy. It's such a common confusion, isn't it? And this is just such a kind of intricate use of language on the same point, the same simple point. I am pure formless awareness. There is really no choice about where I go for pure guidance, confusion free, pain free. Oh Lord.
Yeah, he's working. He's giving your mind a workout to it.
Oh yes.
Taking these ideas and he's spinning them and twisting them and kind of going, okay, we'll shape it that way and let's tweak it that way and use the language.
Yeah.
And it makes you think about it, and it really makes you kind of go, okay, what? Especially if we do translation, I think that adds another level to the mind training. It's like, oh, okay, so now not going with his words. I've got to actually translate it into other language that makes sense.
Oh, it's really good. I've
really
dropped
good.
at least a couple of bars.
Exactly.
Well, they do say that the brain uses more energy than any other organ. So
yeah.
Something.
You need
To
cake.
take more B6. Oh yeah, that's right. We need more cake.
No, B6 is a better idea, isn't it?
Okay, so happy with number 7.
Yep.
I think I know you gave a pretty good summary there. So number 8.
Miracles are in accord with the awareness of love, whose awareness you do not know because you are confused about what you will. This means, well, actually, you are confused about your awareness, I guess.
Yeah, you're confused about what you are aware of.
Yeah. This means,
You think you're aware of a separate world based on a whole bunch of rules that aren't even real.
Oh my God. This means that you are confused about what you are. If you are the awareness of love and do not accept this awareness, you are denying joy. The miracle is therefore a lesson in what joy is. Being a lesson in sharing it is a lesson in love, which is joy. Every miracle is thus a lesson in truth. And by affirming truth, you are learning the difference between pain and joy. Oh, what a superb paragraph.
Okay, you want to summarize that?
Oh. Well, I love that he brings in the miracles. You know what the miracles are? Really, that you accept that you know, you can just give up this ridiculousness of the ego and align with this awareness of love, which is really about, and it's kind of a relaxation into the joy. And that if you don't do that, you're just basically confused and you don't know what you are and you don't know who you are. So if you want to know who you are, just simply align, drop the ego and align with this joy that is the awareness of love, of source, of everything meant. At one meant.
There's miracles or nothing, you say.
Yeah, and the miracles. So you're either going for the miracles or you're denying joy.
Well, the choice is miraculous, you know, a miraculous life filled with joy, or denial of that, and really living in a state of nothingness.
Yeah.
Just believing that you're something you're not. Where every miracle teaches you the difference between pain and joy. So see how it's connected. He brings it back to, you know, to the practical element of what we're trying to learn in this course. Trying to learn miracles. It's a course in miracles. Okay, so every miracle is a lesson in truth, and it offers you, by offering truth, you're learning the difference between pain and joy. So again, as you give, you receive.
Yeah.
So you offer the truth to others, and then you learn the difference between pain and joy. You offer love, you experience joy yourself, and you go, oh wow, this works. I feel quite good, actually. Let me do more of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, happy with number 8?
Yeah.
Okay, can anyone give me a final summary of the whole thing? What are the key takeaways? Just a few key points that he made here.
Yeah, I'd like to, because I'm kind of stepping back and asking myself, what have I learned from this section? Did I have a confusion between pain and joy?
John, do you mind just directing your voice a bit inwards?
Yeah, so I'm asking myself what I've learned from this section. And because I found it quite wordy, and I'm not convinced that all the words justify their existence.
Okay.
The confusion of pain and joy. So was I actually confused about pain and joy? I think it's brought to my attention that I probably was, and intellectually now I understand that that I wasn't. I'm much clearer about what pain is and how I can choose, and I can understand the machinations of the ego to keep me in pain by the use of projection. The passage has reinforced to me the will of God, the will of love, to be with me and to guide me through this confusion. It has stressed in numerous ways how the ego wants to try and deviate me. Yes, okay. But I've kind of heard that before a lot of times. So I think for me, it's kind of clarified that there is confusion around pain and joy. And that's mainly down to me wanting to be stuck in pain. And it's reinforcing the reality, which is that there is always a source of light, energy, goodness that wants me to align with it and will.
They're frozen.
Are they?
Yeah.
Is it coming from?
Oh no, it's on again.
Yeah.
I just didn't say very much for a minute. I only.
Yeah, I was thinking.
Oh, I see. Oh, strange. That was really weird.
Okay. Anything else to add, John? Oh.
No. I mean, without looking at all the words, no. I think it's important when you do a summary not to look at the words. Yeah. If I start looking at the words,
give a high level understanding.
Yeah. Otherwise, I'll just get dragged back into the detail of it.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it's one key idea really, that the Holy Spirit can teach you the difference between pain and joy.
Yeah.
And by that difference, you come to know yourself. Through joy, you come to know what you are. Very simply. So as you say, it's a lot of words. I mean, this is it is a wordy path. Course in Miracles is a wordy path, it is. But I think the method in his wordiness is that it's, as we going through the words, it's the mind training that's going on. We're having to undo the ego as we work through these sentences. He twists us and he turns us, and then he loops back on himself, and it's all part of it's a process of mind training.
Yeah, I accept that.
And that's that the value is in doing the process. Then the undoing starts to happen. You can't really. I mean, you could summarize A Course in Miracles in a couple of pages, really, but you're not going to get the benefit, the same benefit, because it's in the practicing of it, in the doing of it. Then these sessions, and I know they do take time, but it's the mind training that's going on while you're doing it. That's what makes the difference. Because conceptually, this is awfully simple. There's really nothing to it. God is, and nothing else is. Okay. That's the ultimate truth. But to accept that in this world of illusion where we seem to be living, that's what makes it challenging. So he's given us a very detailed, thorough mind training, mind washing process in this course, in the text. And you're starting to see how the text, I mean, he's teaching all the time. It's got its own kind of practice, hasn't it? The workbook has its way. The text is like, so it's interesting what it does to your mind, I think.
Isn't it? It's fascinating. Yes. I'm just saying, I'm absolutely fascinated by the text. Yeah.
So it's got a depth and a profundity, and then the language, and he's twisting it and turning it and shaping it in so many different ways. It's like you're almost like surfing. It's like surfing these waves of it's very interesting. Whereas the workbook is more straightforward. It's like, okay, here's a lesson, here's the practice, and practice it. And he gives you the instructions, and off you go.
Yeah.
Where this is like, okay, let's take you on a journey. Each section is a little hero's journey. It's like a miniature little journey you do, isn't it?
Mm.
Interesting. So you keep cycling through this over and over and over again. Each time you get closer to the core, like a spiral, spiraling into the center of the core.
Yeah.
So, yeah, any other comments or
Mm.
questions on the section?
No,
Happy with it?
very good. Enjoyed that.
I'm good.
Okay, so let's close it after the 2-minute med. Just close your eyes, take a nice deep breath in. And just breathe in the love and the joy Jesus pointed us to in this lesson very powerfully. So really, joy is the intense feeling of love. So just allow yourself to experience that intensity for a few moments. Breathe it in to every pore, every cell, every muscle of your body, every part of your mind. In the joy of love. And you feel it coursing through you. It's unlimited, infinite, eternal joy. Just to experience briefly what it feels like, because when you experience it fully, then why would you choose anything else? Does anything else really have any value compared to this feeling? Make the decision now that you choose joy and only joy. Now and always. So it's said, so it's done. Feel the gratitude for this joy, for the truth that you've been given in this teaching tonight, for the presence of the Holy Spirit and Jesus guiding you out of the confusion between pain and joy, back to joy and joy alone. So exhale on the truth of that. Have a sense extending that joy outwards. As you love others, share that love, you experience joy. Just bless others. And so it is said, so it is done. And open your eyes and continue on with your evening. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Jonah.
I'll see you tomorrow afternoon, I hope.
Yeah. Oh, I'll be out with my son.
Okay.
Yeah.
Lucy?
I have, well, we have quite a few quite major things to deal with tomorrow, so I will see. It's at 1:30, isn't it?
Yes, correct, yeah.
1:30 and then 7:30.
No, we've just got one session tomorrow.
Oh,